Hello and welcome to the morning sports briefing here on Saturday, the 6th of June. That's right, we come to you at 7 a.m. every single morning, 7 days a week here on New Zealand Sports Radio. It's your best way to start the day up to speed with all the important sports news. And in news today, Gorohdaya fall to another loss. Basketball a step closer to returning from hero to zero for the Breakers, and we have a positive drug test as well. Kicking off with that football news, and Smolovic played Gorohdaya. Smolovic, second from bottom in the league, no wins all season against Gorohdaya, who are in a horrible run of form, and Smolovic get their first win of the season. 4-1. That's Stephen. That's your team. What's happened to the boys? They rallied, got themselves to mid-table, but they're in a real poor run of form currently, aren't they?
Yeah, no. Well, hopefully they haven't been tuning into some of the Brisbane Broncos training sessions. I really don't know what to say. It's a downhill trend.
It is a downhill trend. They were 2-0 down at half-time, and then an own goal made them put them 3-0 down. Yes, having a poor set of results. Tonight we have Sluts versus Torpedo. That's my team against Stephen from the Deep South. Islach versus Rue Brest, and Slavia versus Neymar Grodon, and Dynamo Brest versus Minsk. So 4 games overnight, an absolute feast of Belarusian football for you there. I'm going to hand you over to Stephen, who's going to take us through the birthdays this morning.
Thank you, Paul, and good morning to everybody. Start of the weekend, and let's crack on. And birthdays this morning, a goal-kicking master, a try-scoring finisher of the highest order, and finally a 2011 World Cup winning fullback, and that's where we start. Israel Dagg, born this day, the 6th of June 1988, is a former New Zealand Rugby Union player who played for the Crusaders in Super Rugby, and he also played for the New Zealand Sevens team and represented Hawke's Bay in the ITM Cup. Dagg played international rugby for the New Zealand All Blacks from 2010 to 2017 before repeated knee injuries cut his career short. Dagg scored 26 tries during his international career and is one of the most kept outside backs in All Black history. Dagg, who celebrates his 32nd birthday today, announced his retirement from rugby on the 4th of April 2019, citing continued issues with an injury to his right knee. He has continued to be an integral part of the Crusaders' coaching and advisory staff. Following his untimely retirement, he joined the Sky Sport New Zealand Rugby Union commentary team. Certainly brings some excitement to that commentary team as well. John Rokotoko, born this day, the 6th of June 1983, is a professional New Zealand Rugby Union player. Rokotoko is known for his speed and strength, which accounted for his prolific try-strike rate. He is a specialist left winger, but has occasionally played on the right wing for the All Blacks. Rokotoko played for the Blues in Super Rugby. He made his first appearance for the All Blacks on the 14th of June 2003 against England. We want to talk about that game. He had a high strike rate for the All Blacks, scoring 25 tries in his first 20 tests and breaking the All Blacks single-season record for test tries previously shared by John Olomu and Christian Cullen. The International Rugby Players Association named him New Player of the Year in 2003. His incredible speed has seen him many times throughout his career. Rokotoko turns 37 today. And finally, Grant Fox, born 6th of June 1962, is a former rugby union player from New Zealand, of course. He was a member of the All Blacks team that won the inaugural Rugby World Cup in 1987. During his time with the All Blacks from 1985 to 1993, he wore the number 10 jersey and was the main goal kicker for the All Blacks. He amassed 645 points from 46 All Black Test matches, 1 try, 118 conversions, 128 penalties, and 7 drop goals. He is considered a true pioneer of the modern art of goal kicking, in particular the technicalities of leaning the ball forward, which has been adopted by world-class kickers since. Many believe he is one of the greatest first 5/8s in All Black history. Fox joins my club. He turns 58 today. And about the greatest All Black first 5 in history, but he's right up there, Paul.
Oh no, yes, I wouldn't put him down as greatest, but he's definitely he was definitely a very, very good player and part of the conversation, at least as one, in the honourable mentions category, maybe rather than I think is where he's at. Moving on to basketball, and the NBA has decided that the 31st of July is when they're targeting returning, and they're going to be playing at Disney World Resort in Florida. But this still needs to be agreed by the Players Association. Not all the teams are planning on coming back. The idea is that just the teams that can make the playoffs, so 13 teams from the Western Conference and 9 from the Eastern Conference, are looking to contest 8 games each to determine seedings for the finals playoffs. If you want to, we're not going to go through all the teams that are back, but I say it's just the teams that are up for the playoffs. The others decided not to come back. The latest date that they must finish the finals series must be on the 12th of October. So that gives you an idea as to the window they've got, which is just, if they're starting on the 31st of July, that's pretty much, what's that, like a 6-week or so gap that they've got to fit in those games. So it's going to be back-to-back games for the basketball to fit all that into that time. Sorry, no, it's not. It's 10 weeks. So July, September, and October, and half of October. So yeah, sorry, 10 weeks they've got there. Over in New Zealand, and the window for registering for the NBL draft has now closed, and in 2 hours the pre-selection will start ahead of the actual draft that happens on Thursday. So tune into that on Thursday. It'll be on Sky Sport, because you know what, myself, yes, Paul Baines is in the draft, could be drafted, could be a professional basketball player at the age of 45. This is my last chance at becoming a professional sports person. Unfortunately, there are only 84 slots available, and over 450 people have registered. So I must say my chances are pretty small. But hey, you've got to be in it to win it, as they say. I'm going to hand you now over to Steve, who's going to take us through our rugby league update.
See, Paul, all the more reason why we should have a short men's league, basketball league, 5'9" and under, a little bit like restricted grade rugby. I think there's an opportunity. I mean, say, how many guys who are under 5'9" are just totally intimidated when you see somebody on the court that's around about 2 meters? Mind you, anything over 6 foot is too tall for me anyway.
No, I agree. When you see guys who are getting sponsored, you're like, my word, seriously? This is I'm supposed to try and shoot over you? No chance. Yes, exactly. Yes. So yeah, short person's basketball. That's
yeah. It is basketball. Is basketball and I've got to say netball or court games are really, really cool games to play. Great for fitness. So if you're out there, just get amongst it. Anyway, talking about getting amongst it, well, they went pretty much from heroes last week to zeros when everybody loved them, but the Warriors came back to earth with a thumper last night, losing 26-0 to the Penrith Panthers at Campbelltown Stadium. With individual errors, ill discipline, and poor decisions, the Panthers punished the Warriors accordingly. This is the second time in 4 games where the Warriors have failed to score a point, and there's only been 1 game so far this season where a Warriors player has actually scored a try. For the first 10 minutes, both teams were able to complete their sets, but without putting much pressure on each other's goal line. However, in the 12th minute, Patrick Herbert fumbled a bomb from the Panthers' Jerome Luai, and 5'8" Matt Burton gathered the ball and went in for the try. The Panthers dominated play after that try, but there was some superb goal line defence from the Warriors, but luck went against them in the 23rd minute when Blake Green's grubber kick went straight into Burton, who reacted quickly, picked up the ball and headed away from 40 metres out. 4 minutes before the break, Luai latched on to his own grubber to bypass Poasa Famasili for the Panthers' third try, and already this game looked out of reach for the Warriors. I've got to say, I thought they were done too. Viliami Kikau, the Panthers' greatest threat, produced some magic to set up Josh Mansour for their next try 3 minutes into the second half. And unlike last weekend, where the Panthers allowed the Knights back into the game over the second half, they stayed switched on and got another try in the 64th minute when Billy Burns hit the line at pace and broke through. Herbert almost scored a stunning try for the Warriors with 9 minutes to go, nearly grounding the ball in goal in the far right corner, but it was kicked through from Roger Tuivasa-Sheck. However, it was ruled that he was in touch, so ruled out. It was the only try-scoring opportunity the Warriors had in this game, and their lack of attacking prowess is becoming increasingly concerning. For the first time in the history of the Warriors, they have gone from keeping the opposition scoreless to being held scoreless in the next game. So just looking at those try scorers, Matt Burton with 2 tries, Luai Mansour with a try, and Stephen Crichton with the goals. Of course, no points for the Warriors. And in the game played later at Amy Park in Melbourne last night, it was the Melbourne Storm who ground out a good win over a disappointing South Sydney team, 22 points to 8, after leading by 8 points to 6 at half time. The Rabbits were level at 8 apiece in the 51st minute, but it was the Storm who finished the game the stronger with 3 more tries sealing the victory. Here we have it in games today. The Parramatta Eels play the Manly Seagulls at Bank West Stadium at 7:30 p.m. New Zealand time, and in the late game, the Queensland Cowboys take on the Cronulla Sharks at Queensland Country Bank Stadium in Townsville. Kickoff is at 9:35 p.m. New Zealand time. And just finally in league, some breaking news. The first batch of rugby league fans will be allowed to attend games again in round 5 after the NRL secured permission for spectators to return from the New South Wales government. Small NRL crowds confirmed that confined corporate boxes are set to be approved from next week as the stadium guidelines are brought in line with current restrictions on pubs and restaurants. The state government ruling allows spectators to attend the NRL games in catered areas at a ratio of 1 person every 4 square meters. Up to 50 people will be permitted in one corporate box if strict distancing rules are met, though details are on exactly how many fans can attend a game are yet to be finalized. So that's really, really good news for a lot of the local clubs that spectators can attend. But I was going to say, Paul, 50 in a corporate box is quite a few people.
I think it'd be cheek to jowl in next to corporate box. Most corporate boxes are around about 10 people, or maybe 20 at most. But yes, 50 in a corporate box, that would be, you'd be cramming them in, most certainly. But we'll have to wait and see how that pans out. And let's just hope it doesn't lead to any more clusters from that situation. Moving on now to rugby news. And Warren Gatland has come out and said that it's now or never if we're going to have a global season lined up. He says, look, now is the time that if it can't be arranged now, he's like, well, not sure when they'll ever be able to do it. They are meeting, or Power Brokers are meeting on June the 15th in Dublin, some will be joining, obviously, via conference call, which is a week on Monday, with representatives there from World Rugby, the English Premiership, Pro 14, Top 14, SANZAAR, and the Six Nations. So good to see that the clubs or the leagues up in Europe are being represented. Clearly, Super Rugby will be represented via SANZAAR. And you've got to say, though, hopefully the Tier 2 nations will have representative through World Rugby as well for that. Moving on, and Dave Rennie has asked to take a 30% pay cut. It's in the same for 3 months, which is the same as the other senior people at Rugby Australia. That would equate to $75,000 over 3 months. Yes, so he's previously it had been said that he was that the Wallabies funding was ring fenced, so he would not have to take a pay cut. He has volunteered to do that. Sean Johnson says that actually that back in April, Rennie had already said that he was happy to take or offered to take cuts along with the same as the other senior members of staff. So good to see Dave Rennie doing that. Over in athletics, and Salwa Eid Nasir, the world 400 meters champion, has been provisionally banned for anti-doping offences. The Bahrainian, or who was born in Nigeria, has been banned for not making herself available for anti-doping tests. The way this works is you have to register where you will be for random testing, so people can come around and test you, and any combination of missing 3 of those tests and or not filing in a 12-month period leads to one of these bans, and the ban can last for up to 2 years. Nasir is the first Asian woman to be crowned a world champion in the 400 meters. Coming back to New Zealand, and there is a multi-million-dollar Canterbury Water Sports Park has been given the council green light to go to the next stage, which is to be to have a sort of feasibility study or start planning. But this would include surfing as well as kayaking. Yes, they're looking at building a wave pool down there just outside of Canterbury, where basically they make artificial waves that you can surf on. It's very impressive, these sort of setups, and it could, they're saying, having could potentially have up to 150,000 people coming and visiting it each year. That was obviously a pre-COVID assessment for that. Locals are raising some objections to the project, especially as this was made behind closed doors, and the decision by the council. But this is one of a number of wave pools that are being suggested. There are also plans to have a wave pool up in Auckland after the one in Napier failed to get the go-ahead 6 years ago. So yeah, these are really exciting times in surfing at the moment. And let's see if we can get those. Let's see if hopefully we get these wave pools set up. You are now up to speed with all of the important news, but a later thing is, look, Stephen, one of the things we've seen, and one of the things we've been talking about, is a boost in interest in sport because it hasn't been around. And we saw that, didn't we, in week 1 with the NRL? They had big TV numbers. How has the second week gone?
Yeah, yeah, very interesting, Paul. We obviously spoke about this pre-show. Now, just according to a report, the NRL's big TV numbers following the competition's post-shutdown have crashed, with over 500,000 less turning in. The first week they had a really, really big audience, front up close to a million people, 952,000 to be exact, and that pretty much fell away exponentially, and only around about just over 600,000 tuned into the game on Thursday night. Now, whether that's got anything to do with Brisbane's form or just being a Thursday night, I hope it's not too much of a pointer. I also think maybe just not having that crowd atmosphere, even though they've added in crowd noises and cardboard cutouts and what have you. Everything's being tried. You kind of do wonder, even tuning in last night to the Warriors game, it is a little surreal watching some of these games, not having a crowd there, especially when you see the crowd celebrations when tries are scored, that sort of interactions. But hey, I think we're only really maybe a week or two away in the NRL before these crowds come back. Obviously, our news story just before read the New South Wales government, Paul. So it's going to be interesting. And listen, we're only a week away, is it, from Super Rugby starting? And hopefully we get a thumbs up from the New Zealand government that people can get along and watch sport.
Absolutely. So yes, a week today, Super Rugby Aotearoa kicks off. Now, one of the things I think people have got to remember that, look, there was a reason why crowd numbers and viewerships were dropping previous to COVID. Now, yes, certainly there will be an immediate boost, but those underlying issues still will need to be sorted out if you want to sort of keep that boost long term. So, yeah, I hope authorities are being proactive around that. But let's be honest, if they were running those problems before, why would they suddenly have that shining bulb moment that's about engagement and involving fans? I'm not sure. But you have started the day the best way, up to date with all of the important sports news. Don't forget to join us at 7 a.m. every single morning for the morning sports briefing. You can also listen to us as a podcast on iHeartRadio, iTunes, Spotify. Just search for New Zealand Sport Radio.